Everyone, this is the Dash Community Call for June 29th. Let's get started. And last week we had a great presentation from Chris with the continuous integration, continuous development pipeline. We didn't have a ton of time for Q&A. And so this week I was wondering, number one, if anyone had had a chance to try the repo, clone the branch, or give it a try, provide any feedback. Or if there's any questions.
Yeah, Madhu here. I tried it. Yeah, actually, so everything the readme file, and I provided some report to Chris as well. Yeah,
Great,
so yeah, so far actually, yeah, all those things actually as of now mentioned, except some issues. Other than that, we are good to. I have a good feeling overall.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah. By the way, Madhu here.
And Venkat, did you intend for your hand still to be up? Okay, we can move forward then. I'm wondering if we have group on the call.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, did you happen to cover your item where you were working with Andy about, I'm digging back in my memory here, the P4 PNA, remind me.
So thanks for your reminder on Monday. We have pretty much agreed to everything now. I just sent a new PR to Andy. I'm not seeing him here, but my understanding is we're either already agreed or almost there. And I've sent you an email just while you were talking a minute ago.
Oh, okay.
To update you on that.
For everybody, just recap what the issue was quickly that we were talking about, so everyone's on the same page.
Yes, certainly. When trying to, we have some connection tracking use cases that should be well understood. Most of us here would know about it. It requires us to have tables that insert entries when a packet misses the table. So that's typical contract. We have a version of it that we've implemented, and that required some changes in the PNA spec slash the P4 spec. But so we had sent a proposal to PNA. I'm happy if reach out to me after and I can send you the GitHub PR. But yeah, so that's been mostly agreed to now, as far as I can tell, and perhaps in a week or so it'll be all done.
Thanks. I try to sometimes pop into those Monday at 1 o'clock PNA or P4 meetings with Andy. So, but yeah, thank you very much. That's great. Does anyone have a question for Arup on that? Okay.
I'll follow up with Andy if there's anything that's remaining, as long as all the, changes conform to what is already defined in P4, or there is any change recommended there, it should be okay.
Okay. So, different topic. Normally, what I've been doing during the weekly notes, which is kind of lengthy, is, I'll go ahead and do these upcoming action items each week. And what I've decided to do kind of instead is I've gone ahead and created just a GitHub project for myself to kind of track these items. And then each week I'll just be pulling, copying, and pasting from here so that I can keep track a little bit better. I guess, number one, does anyone have an issue with me doing it this way versus by hand? You can say yes, I won't be offended.
I guess I don't understand the distinction. Why you need to do it on a separate project, copy it over? I mean, I don't.
Oh, because I'm writing them by hand week over week in OneNote.
Oh,
So this-
I see.
Yeah.
You want to just use this as your
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a template, I guess.
got
Yeah,
it, and copy it, and you're going to copy this into the minute. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
because we've all talked in the community about all the kind of the things that need to be done outside of behavioral model, outside of HA. This is just in the overall community. And, you know, like
Makes
we're
sense.
following up with Roop here. If we could look at these quickly, we need to write more test cases with Keysight. We have SciThrift server integration with BMV2.
Right.
And I think Chris is working with Marian. We still need the northbound interface. That'll be Michael. The testing work group leader, I believe I have a volunteer here, possibly Chris. And if
Sure.
anyone would like to co-lead or help, that would be awesome. Chris, did you say something?
Oh yeah, I'm not possibly a volunteer. I did volunteer.
Okay.
But you know, open to all.
Yeah. So I'm open
help-
to, yeah. So if anyone has a passion for testing, reach out to Chris and me. So then also we need to talk about this in the behavioral model meeting, but the white box versus black box testing. You know, if I remember, we were looking at the TCP machine state machine, and are we going to be able to test that? And so that needs more discussion in the behavioral model meeting. And maybe we could prep to talk about this on Thursday, because that's our Thursday meeting. And then we think the Dash container will be ready from Gohan in end of August, and then of course we'll need overlay tests. So this was kind of my list that I'd be pulling from instead of sending the other one that you just saw weekly, if that's okay. Does anyone have anything else they'd like me to add?
I would just say that on line 8, I think Marian agreed last Thursday to do an initial VNet overlay case. They kind of a rough draft, and that I volunteered that we would sort of formalize it, automate it.
Yeah, that's correct.
To keep the people's, you know, focusing on their wheelhouse, so to speak.
Okay, just a reminder to myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is nice to have this.
Okay.
So I don't know, Christina, if you want to track that one here. Sorry to
No, go
sound
ahead.
like a
I can move them around.
No, sorry to sound like a broken record in terms of, you know, we're still waiting for the document on, you know, telemetry and, you know, metering and stats and so forth, right? The counters. I think whether we should basically track it here and then probably assign the ETA to see when we should see that.
We do need that.
It's interesting that the Sonic OCP meeting is having a discussion yesterday about GNMI containers too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have to get on the mailing list. There's quite a bit. I know there was someone from this group on that meeting.
Right. And to deliver the news to you guys, we actually have been going through and vetting the list of counters that we think we need, and whether it's a global or whether it's a per ENI counter, and then James Grantham has been working on this and trying to transform it into something that we can publish here. Because what we don't want to do is, you know, throw out 250 counters and say, here we go, figure it out. You know, that's not what we want to do. So we've been going through trying to figure out each one. Do we need it? Do we know what it is? Do we need it? Because we're going off of our current implementation and then moving the bits forward that we believe we need. So we have been working on it in the background, just FYI, and as soon as we can get it out for you.
Sounds
But
good.
that's
Hey,
a
thanks.
that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
I just
Christina.
looked at the email again. I think it was Venkatesh and Malingam that was engaging in that discussion quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is kind of, you know, my running list here.
One other thing, you know, I don't know, again, there have been several times where we had questions about scaling or any other functionality, right? And then we went ahead and, you know, deferred it to saying, hey, there is some sort of a POC, internal POC at Microsoft going on for the appliance use case for Sirius.
Yep.
And then we will have upon the end of the POC, and then once we have the results of it, then we'll have a clarity and we'll come back to you and then, you know, share you the results and give you all the the answers to certain questions that we had as far as scaling or any other questions were concerned. So I guess what I want to really see is that when do we think that that is ending? In other words, when should we expect certain results of those POCs to be shared so that people have a idea that, you know, certain doubts or certain, I guess, questions that they had, they may get answers for those ones as a result of those results that are shared for the POC, right? So
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know that right now James has been creating the so we've been reviewing internally the sheets and what we think we can deliver, and so we are still going through the proof of concept. I'll get with him today and touch base back on this. I don't see him on the call, but they've been so focused on getting this proof of concept out the door that it's all hands on deck for that, and everything else is, you know, kind of a priority 1 or 2. So I'll get back with him on that and see if we can at least try and provide a date. So I'll put a note here. Yeah, Christina.
sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. And so let me go back to my other sheet. So do we have this Thrift server integration covered, Chris? I think we do.
Well, it's covered. I'm not sure if it's covered. I'm working on it. I'm at a stopping point. I'll get some feedback from Marian, and he said he would, you know, respond to me at some point. So I don't know when that will be.
Okay.
You can chime in right now.
Right. So if I may add to that, there is a couple of standard SAI APIs that need to be implemented pretty much by hand. Stuff like capability query, API query, and so on, which is missing right now. So I have a list from Chris, basically from the compilation results of SAI Thrift. I'll do that, and then we will have the full support that SAI Thrift requires. It will take me about a week.
Can you just do dummy functions for now as a first step?
It's not really done. Well, I can do that, but they are actually used. Like, for example, SAI API query, it is used because it is querying the actual callback functions from the implementation that will be used.
Got it. You need to return a pointer. How about the type conversion errors?
Type conversion, was that in? Yeah, I'll need to follow up on that offline. I think it's not really, either I missed something or it's not really related to the auto-generated code, because it seems like it's not from the files that are auto-generated.
Okay. We might be, you know, there might be a discovery process here. In the process of trying to build this SAI Thrift server, I had reached out to Reshma at Intel for some help in the instructions for building the SAI Thrift server, and she very kindly produced a new document, which is actually now in a pull request for SAI OCP SAI, giving instructions. I was able to utilize those and build a Docker image to create the server, so that was super helpful. And that's in process. So so we're just kind of, let's say, a step at a time, peeling the onion on this, and everyone's pitching in as I share my discoveries. So I'm happy to integrate this SAI Thrift server, you know,
Thanks, Chris.
to the best I can.
Thank you.
I
also too, Chris, you know, I started looking at can we shift topics for a minute?
Sure, I wanted to talk about this in a moment anyway, but thanks.
Oh, okay. Are we done? So are we done with SAI Thrift server?
I think so.
Okay, right. So I started reading through this and, you know, trying to figure out where I could make a comment or something like that. And so let's see. And this is great, and it's this is going to take some time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say to everybody. Is this is probably going to take a good 15 minutes to read through. I'm sorry, I'm doing this wrong, but
did you want to read through this today now? Is that your goal? Is that what
I
you-
was going to kind of show it.
Oh,
if that's
okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh, great.
that's okay. Yeah. So I'll just need to get rid of everything here. Can you remind me which,
Just the main README.
this one right here. Okay. So
Oh.
everybody, it's awesome. It's a lot of content for sure. And I think I got through about, no, the larger one, Chris.
I think you're on the wrong README. I meant the main
Yeah.
README under dash pipeline.
Okay.
And by the way, people, you'll the dash, you want to pull your repo and update it because Marian did a pull request to rename Sirius pipeline to dash pipeline.
Mhm.
So from now on, it's all dash pipeline stuff.
Yeah, that is correct. I think some of the links are also now broken because of the URL is changed, right?
I tried to find them and fix them. I did but we'll see.
Oh, no. The people who had bookmarked them, they will
Oh,
have to
yeah,
change it,
bookmarks.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, see, we started here. This is the right one, right, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and I also started reading through this, and I made it to about just after here. So everybody, this will take a little bit of maybe 15 minutes or so to read, but I think it's pretty valuable. Did you want to talk about it at all, Chris?
I wasn't planning on walking through it today.
No, we don't have to. We don't have to.
But I think there's some, valuable content there for people to think about when they have time.
Yeah. So you talked about, things we need to work on. Now, these loose ends and the optimizations do we want to track these somewhere, Chris, or do we just want to track them here?
Either one's fine. Sometimes I like to put stuff right in the document when they're
Okay.
not like critical. They're kind of like aspirational roadmap stuff.
Okay. Great. So yeah, so then we do have the roadmap, and then this starts out with kind of telling you how to install and clone and get the branch and blah, blah, blah. And then running the tests, then the cleanup steps. And then this is kind of where I ended here. And so I need to get through the rest of this today.
Yeah, I try to throw in a little bit of tutorial along the way because not every concept here is familiar to everyone. Some people focus on architecture, some focus on P4 code. Not everyone knows like this DevOps methodology, so I try to explain a little bit.
Yeah. And you showed us this piece, right, in the demo, right, the passing example?
I showed a fail and a passing example.
And then you showed, yeah, exactly. And then you showed the fail. So I kind of skipped over this part.
I'd like to say something on that. I've been just in general, I've been working on this the whole, continuously. I'm trying to optimize the whole thing to make it run faster and have smaller Docker images. So that's ongoing obsession of mine right now. But I got pretty quick results early on. They're already in the pull request. The initial P4 code compile, which I was demonstrating catching errors, it now only takes 30 seconds to get that result in the CI. I did that by using a standard P4C container that's already available in Docker Hub instead of using our, what's out of hands, instead of using, I've never seen that. That's really cute. Instead of using the larger Docker image that has like everything in the world in it, I just pulled the standard one. It makes our image smaller, and it also loads into the CI runner much more quickly, like 23 seconds instead of 2 or 3 minutes. So you get CI results on the P4 code in 30 seconds. And that's the thing that's usually going to break the soonest. So I think that's a good step forward. And I also shrunk the main Docker image by about, 1.5 gig just by removing the gRPC source code from it. So I'm working on things like that to get the images squeezed down. Anyway.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Kind of like trying to scale down Windows, right?
Yeah. It's challenging.
Oh, thank you. Any questions for Chris while he's on that train of thought? No? Okay. So yeah, and then
I observe, Madhu here. So yeah, I tried these things. Yeah, I can see that the Docker image 12.4 to 9.5 GB drastically reduced, and things are, yeah, compilation time is also it's now pretty fast. Thanks, Krish. It's really, we are in the right direction in the optimization way.
That's great.
Thanks. You're welcome.
And then you have some optional things down here that people can do.
Yeah, I'm just breaking down the make file. You don't have to, if you go to the you can go back later to the top, but I just go like 2 or 3 commands to try this out. You don't need to read all this to get started. I'd always like to have something that is just, type a few commands and go.
Okay, we don't need to, I was going to read all this. Okay.
No, you should.
Okay.
There's a test at the end of this meeting.
There's a test. Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
So, Chris, just a quick question. Do you have to have the cloud VM to do this thing, or can you do it on just VirtualBox and run a Linux on it?
It's a great question, and maybe I didn't clarify it. This entire workflow is designed to, you can do it either manually, step by step, or with the summary instructions. You can automate it with your own scripts locally, or you can run it in the cloud. So the goal is the typical real life week to week kind of workflow is someone's writing P4 code and writing tests, and they're doing this all in their development environment, right, for long periods of time, and then get it working to their satisfaction. So it can be done totally manually or with your own script. And then eventually you're going to submit a pull request to the community, presumably. That's the end goal. So while you're working, hopefully you've got your test working, you would commit it and push it to your own fork. At that point, the test will run to confirm that everything you did works properly, let's say in a clean environment, which is the CI runner. So once you pass that gauntlet, then you can do a pull request to the Dash repo, and the CI will run again on the pull request itself before it ever even makes it into the Dash repo. So a maintainer will look at that and go, oh, it passed or it didn't pass, right? And so it's kind of like a series of checkpoints, but primarily people do this in their own workspace or in your own, let's say, corporate environment. You might automate this in your own environment at work. If you have a fork of this and you put it into your own automation workflow. As a goal, I would like to have this work such that you can automate it and add your own local customizations. So you could, let's say, import this as a submodule into your own internal proprietary project and run things as well. But that's kind of a longer term goal, and I'll be working on that later.
So I believe the maintainer shouldn't even take a look at it unless it passes, right?
Yes, it would. It's almost like pass fail, just like if you try to contribute code to Sonic that you haven't signed off, and I made this mistake last week, you have to sign the commit. The DCO check, I can't remember what DCO stands for, but basically it'll say, hey,
was it CLA?
Basically, yeah, it's like a CLA check, but Sonic is pretty picky about it. It immediately flags it in your pull request, and I made that mistake last week because I don't commit that often, so I had to sign it.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you.
Does that answer your question? It was kind of a long-winded answer.
No. That's good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if that's not clear from the beginning, I'll go back and add that. I do have a goal of getting this merged and accepted pretty soon because there's several things that are depending on it. One is Marian wants to add more README content, and then the other is I want to start filing issues against the model itself, the BMV2 model. I've found a few things already that I want to file an issue for, but it makes sense to have the testing framework and the criteria in place before I start doing that.
Sounds good.
Can we set a goal for when this, people can say it's good enough to me? I know Marian already said it looks good to me and he approved it. I've had 2 other people, Madhu and Alex Bortalk, have both run through everything and it seems to work. So we can, keep this open for review or just take a chance and merge it and then go forward from here. There's no objections to any of the content. I don't think I've broken anything with this.
Right. So I guess, does anyone on the call object to just moving forward with it? Or would you like more time with it?
I'm fine with it.
Sorry, I'm looking around on the screen because I'm looking at multiple monitors trying to control all the links here. So I'm not really hearing a no.
Yeah, we should merge it and yeah, and
Okay.
move forward with it.
And then we can make comments. And so does that work for you, Chris?
Certainly does.
Okay.
I know Marian can then start working on his stuff. What I'd like to do is get this in there so that as work proceeds on the modified BMV2, which is the next working group meeting tomorrow, the BMV2 model that's going to be modified to handle stateful tracking, etc. We want to get the environment ready so that when we start using that, it's using a consistent environment. And right now, my understanding from various comments is that Marian has a fork that he's been working on for that, and others are going to be sharing it. I want to bring everything up, level everything up, so that we don't have all these very different forks doing work and then trying to resolve and merge everything later. It gets very painful.
Okay. Right. And then, as you know, Prince had submitted this. I didn't know, other than Hanif, if anyone had had a chance to go through this here, but I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
Yeah, Christina, I got some feedback from Venkat as well. I'm yet to address those comments on this. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a ton of work, so it's awesome. And then what?
No, this is good. Thank you, Prince. Appreciate it. This is a lot of work.
I'll put it in the chat window if anyone wants to see it.
Oh, Prince, while you're here, I know that Murcha, who's not on the call, he had made some comments about the JSON schema because we're trying to create test cases.
Okay.
We directed him to this yesterday. Chris?
Yeah. Yang's fine, but we need JSON schema that we've been talking about for a while. And we've never.
Oh, I thought we have it covered in the HLD in the last commit.
Oh,
the JSON schema, yeah, with an example.
But it was an example, right? It's not the final.
Oh yeah, I think that we'll have to work together to create the full configuration. So basically, that's exactly the schema which we can just add few more of the configuration based on. I see. I think your point is like, okay, ACLs are missing and those things, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let me try to reframe the ask. So a lot of us are working sort of from the bottom up in terms of the overall testing, and we're working from the data plane on up. So we have our SCI APIs, but at some point we want to write test cases that are general, and we want an intermediate representation, which JSON seems like the right way, similar to how Sonic uses JSON for config, import, and export. We need to lock down that schema because we're working in the middle right now of the stack. We're not working at the top like the GNMI level. So we can't really wait for the GNMI and the Yang to be
right. Yeah.
So
I think that ask
more
is clear.
urgent.
Yeah.
Because we're putting significant R&D resources into creating like hero tests and things like that, and we really need this format locked down, or it's going to require a lot of rework. So I would ask for some more priority on that task. I know it doesn't really help, let's say, the SDN controller side of things, but it really is a kind of like a needed item for people testing from the middleware level.
So is that something we're able to give, or is that something that takes a lot of work? Sonic.
I think we have the basic one. I need to go and look at what needs to be extra added. Okay. So yeah, I'll take it up. Yeah.
But I just want to emphasize, I appreciate that, Prince. I want to emphasize that this is not like just an informal, here's an example. It needs to be like attract first-class citizen. Right? It's a schema that will build a significant amount of work on top of. So
Okay.
from my point of view, it's more important than GNMI. I know that sounds crazy, but we'll be writing a lot of test cases based on this that will test all the interfaces. So it's really like a core schema.
Got it. Got it. And then probably the last thing I had is, so Michael Miele and I have been working to break out the VNet to VNet scenario away from, it used to be called the SDN transforms document, and it was in the general folder, and it kind of described the scale, the ACLs, the routing, the kind of everything in one document. And we're trying to pull it apart so that the items that are common to all scenarios stay in the SDN transforms document, and then we'll break out, each scenario into its own folder. So, in the folder structure of Dash, we had done, hopefully everyone can see my screen, documentation, and inside of documentation, we had placed the different scenarios. And so, ideally VNet to VNet will fall here, while everything that's common to all the scenarios will fall into general. So that's what we're doing right now. And of course, adding some content to VNet scenarios. So there'll be a lot more fleshed out here in VNet to VNet as soon as we're done. And maybe I can talk a little bit more about that next week. We're adding a lot. So
it's a lot of
yeah,
work.
one thing just I have for my clarity's sake, I think whenever we talked about VNet, we just said VNet, and then we started saying VNet to VNet. So whenever we said VNet, we basically also have another use case, which is VNet peering, right? So by saying VNet, I always understood it was probably intra VNet. In other words, the VMs belonging to the same VNet, they're talking to each other and so forth. And perhaps VNet peering was something different. So I think it will be probably good to really explain the difference between, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who is a little bit, confused on that one. So I thought I understood it, but then some people said, no, the VNet use case also covers the VNet peering. And then I said, okay, so then, maybe my understanding was too different. And then if VNet covers the same, use case of VNet peering, then do we really need two of them, right? Or should we basically, combine them together? So just,
I'll try and get back with you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jai, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Jay, you're on the phone. Jay works with Michael over in SDN. Is that something you can take up and take back to Michael to kind of work to get an answer? I'll work with Jay on that. So Jay is new to our group here, but this is kind of what we're doing, where we're showing the pipeline. But what's interesting down here is we're trying to describe the steps in the different tables and the process here. So
this, if I'm correct, sorry if I interrupt, Christine, this is Michael. Sure. Really, here we use the example, the JSON schema that Prince and Chris, if I'm correct, were talking about. Now, obviously, this is an example, but this could be the schema that would be adopted once completed. So here is just the basic example that we have from the HLD document, Sonic HLD document that we are using here in the scenario, and show so clarifying what this schema means in terms of tables graphically, so people will have a better understanding. Obviously, this will be the scenario that will contain also more actionable steps in order for the scenarios to be complete, including perhaps the effective, the actual schema. And then there are other scenarios that would follow the same format.
Right. So here, we would start step 1, longest prefix match, go to the route table, do these. Step 3, go to the here. Step 4, mapping table, look up PA to CA. Step 5. So this is kind of what we're working on in the background to publish.
This is real helpful, and it'll be interesting to compare this to the actual P4 code.
Yeah.
It should always agree functionally.
And I know Prince and others have brought it up that it needs to stay in sync for sure. But we were trying to appeal to the person who may not go read the P4 right away and just kind of give a look at what we, a visual representation of what would be happening. And if anyone has a better idea, please call me. I'll give you my cell phone. So. And that's really all I had for today, guys. Does anyone else? I see is there a hand up here? Murali Venkat. I'm just wondering if that's a stray hand in the air.
Yeah, that's the original hand at the start of the meeting. So somebody has to clear that, I think. So
like a rock concert, we just put our hands in the air. Okay. Sorry. So
cigarette lighters.
Right. So that's really all I had for today. Was to go over these things. And
Christine, this PR, is it public or is it still private?
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so this is in Michael's repo, and we're gonna merge it in at some point here.
Okay.
We can make it public, Christina. We can move it to the public repo.
Yeah, we would put this in which folder? The data plane.
But is this part of a pull request?
No, VNet.
Is this already part of a pull request, or is it just a fork that you're working on?
This is the pull request in my fork. So,
okay, so the pull request, you just click on the link and it'll bring you right to this repo.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So then it must already be public.
Yeah.
Put it in the chat window, Reshma.
Yeah, just.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. And so that brings me to my last point. So Michael, who's been an excellent help to me, is taking a vacation and won't be with us for a while. And so I want to say goodbye to Michael and thank you for his help.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
And so
thanks, Michael.
Great working with you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say a couple of words, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you, all of you guys. Thank you, Christina, for allowing me to work on this interesting project. I learned a lot. I start with a blank slate, but I learned a lot. So it's really an interesting project. And at this point in time, I need to move on other tasks, but I hope that I can come back soon. And
me too.
Perhaps I will join you again. Until then, I wish you good luck, and I will follow you because it's open source. So I'm all forked out.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, good luck, Michael. Thank you.
Well, hopefully we'll see him back in a month when he's, done doing his endeavors.
Yeah.
So that's all I had, guys. I'm going to turn off the recording.